Hi, I'm Pam Hayes from Hayes Sewing Machine Company. Welcome back to our creative video series. And today we're going to do a quilt. And it is from Fabulous 5-Yard Quilts. This is kind of their recent book that they have. And the one that I'm going to be doing is Cosmos. So it is the one behind.
Pretty
You're
pretty.
Gonna see, yeah, you're going to see a whole bunch of fun things there. Now, when you're working with it, it has 2 blocks. Basically, one is like a snowball block, and then the other one is going to be a star. So if Loretta will pan down for me. So you're going to see the star, and then you have your snowball. This would be a really good opportunity if you have some lovely big prints that are in your stash. This would be a wonderful time to utilize those. And it gives you a nice big area for the block. Now, when you're working with doing the block, in the book they'll give you all the dimensions that you need to work with. I'm going to show you how to do the snowball one first. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to have your squares for the corners, and you're going to put right sides together. Now remember, you can either eyeball it, which I think I did for most of mine. So
It's always good to be honest.
it's always good to be honest. Or you can always mark your line. Chalk, friction pen, whatever you have. And you can mark your line so you can see where you need to be. Again, so we're going to line this up, and I'm going to mark a couple of them. So get your rotary ruler.
That's right. Teach them good habits.
Teach them good habits. All right. And then away you go. Now remember, when you're stitching this, okay, if you take a look, you want your rotary or your sewing line to be from edge to edge. Don't inadvertently flip it like so. That won't get you where you want to be.
Corner is bad.
Corner is bad, yes. All right, so again, your 1/4 inch foot, and you're just going to go and you're going to sew across, and you're going to do it to all 4 sides. And you're going to do it for basically, I think it's like 15 blocks.
Is this like the other 3-yard quilts in the fact that they give you yardage for the larger sizes and block layouts? Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Good enough.
I didn't want to say yes without looking. The answer is yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good enough.
They will tell you all of that. And the size on this guy, when it's done, because it is going to be, I believe, a little bit bigger, is 55 by 63.
Okay.
So it's a little bit bigger than what they normally would have had with the 3-yard quilts.
But you still only need a yard of each?
Yard of each.
Nice.
Yep. You're just
Makes
doing
it
a
easy
yard.
to pick out, right?
Yeah, you got it. And it is a yard of each. But there's 5.
5 of them.
5 of them. All right. So again, we're just going to stitch across the other one. And we're going to take and we're going to cut. Could you rotary cut this? Absolutely. All right. So that's out of the way. And then when we press this, you're going to press the seam towards the corner. I know. All right. So you're going to do this, like I was saying, for I think it's like 15 blocks. There are 30 blocks total, 2 blocks each of different types. So to me, that math means
15.
15. All right. The next one is going to be the star. Has a couple of different components. You have half square triangles. You are going to have the big block in the center, and then you have the corner, what will be the corner here, and I'll show you what I mean. So if you are new to half square triangles, or you just want to practice, this will be a good quilt for you because the thing has like 100 that you need to do. All right, so basically when you're working with this, you are going to definitely mark side corner to corner, and they'll, just seeing here whether they have you do a scant quarter. Yes, so a scant quarter. The nebulous, what's a scant quarter? If you were to line up the edge of the foot, this edge, which is a 1/4 inch away from the needle, and if you were to put it on the line, that's a full quarter. So a scant quarter is a little less. So you're going to move your needle 1, maybe 2 clicks. I'm going to do it 1. So it's a little less than a 1/4 inch. You line it up, and again your foot is going to run along that line. So you would assembly line style this, so you would do all of one side, and then you would flip it around and you'd go the other direction. Okay? And you line it up, and we're good. Now, you're going to take and you're going to cut these apart. So, when you are trimming, again, rotary cutter or scissors, you're basically cutting on the line. So for every 2 squares that you do, you're going to come up with 2 half square triangles. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to press them to the dark. Now, once you are done pressing them, are we done? Not yet. Now, because everybody's half, scant quarter can be a little different, what they try to do for you is they say, okay, you have your half square unit. Now you want to trim it up.
Okay.
Okay. And we want it to be 2.5 in this case when we're done. How do I do that? You grab a ruler. Can you see how it has that line right, 45 right in the center? And I'm going to line that up at the seam. Okay? Like so. I line it up. And sorry, have to get a little bit of, and I'm looking for, you're going to be cutting 2 sides at a time.
What do you think you're trimming off?
Not much. How's that?
1/16 of an inch kind
Yes.
of thing?
Now there may be more on the other side, so, because remember, we've done those 2 sides, and then we're going to go, and we're going to do it the same way. And this is the one where I'm going to do more, making sure that I'm at the 2.5.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to take this. I can't rotary cut. Seated. All right. And then I have my 2.5. And you're going to do the same thing, and you're going to do it 100 times. Mm-hmm. Because for every...
So by the time you're done this quilt,
you will have it down pat. All right. So now, once we are done with that, we now need to start to build the block. You are going to have the center square, and then you're going to have see if I can find another one that's not, nope, they're going to be joined. Okay, so I have my two pieces, and you're going to join them together so they look like, to me, kitty ears.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're going to have it where the kitty ears and the pink in this case, or the peach, is going to go to the center block.
Got it.
You want to join top and bottom. Okay, so top and bottom. And then you're going to join the sides. However, when you join the sides, you're going to do a component first, because you'll notice there's blank in there. So that's where you're going to take your background fabric, and you've already cut the squares, and you are going to put them on that unit. I'll space it out a little bit. Okay, so if that makes sense to you. So when you're doing your star, once you have your half square triangles together, some are going to stay singles. You know, they're going to be the cat ears, but they are just two together. This one is going to be the two together plus the squares on the sides.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm just going to do the squares on the sides first. And again, you can do them assembly line style. Saves you on thread if you do that. And then we're going to flip it around. And we're going to do the same on the other side. All right, so we're just going to put those to the side for the second. Then we're going to go and we're going to do this one. Now, if you want to line up and get as close to that kind of tip as you can, you'll notice on the flip side, when you sew, it makes kind of a little X.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're going to try to hit or sew through. So when we're working with it, if we sew through that X, it's going to give you a better shot at looking nice for the corners.
And you're back to a true 1/4 inch seam at this point, yeah.
Now, when you're working with it, okay, you'll take a look, see how it went right on through. So my tips
Pretty
look
boy.
nice. All right. So again, we're going to sew the other side. All right, so we're good on both sides. Now, I let it do what it wants to do. So in other words, you open it up, and obviously the seams want to flip to the big guy. If you try to do it the other way, you can, but it just doesn't want to. So why fight it? So if that's the case, my seam allowances are going to be pressed towards the big block, but when I go to do this guy, I want to, again, have them pressed towards the corners, because that way they can nestle together and you don't have to worry about it. Okay, so that's how I'm going to press. You don't want to have to fight.
Yeah, yeah. And it's easy to remember, too, because you just press all your seams towards the squares. Whether
Well,
it's
that's
a
one way to
small-
look at it, too.
whether the square is big or small. It doesn't make it. You just go ahead and press it.
Press to the squares. Well, fine. If you want to make it simple like that, that's fine too.
Sorry.
All right. So
Simple
now,
minds.
there you go. So you see how we're
That's
starting
beautiful.
to build the block.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like I was saying, for the larger print, you can do definitely this guy. You know,
The snowball.
for the snowball. But you could use a larger print here too,
Mm-hmm.
because it gives you a big enough area. All right. So now we want to go, and it's going to be easier to have these nestle together. I'm going to use my clips, and I'm going to join it together. If you find that one section is bigger than the other, always put the bigger side down. And also, if you want, I'm going to show the quilt tack. Remember, a quilt tack is just 2 or 3 stitches before or after the seam. That way, if it's not lined up right, you can take it out pretty quickly. Just going to make sure that these are where I want them to be. So I'm just going to test that first. That looks good. That looks good. And we're going to sew in down the middle. All right. Now, we're going to line this up. Make sure you sew through your quilt tacks. There's not a lot of point in putting them in there if you don't sew through them. And then we have our little guy. And guess what? We're going to do the same thing to the other side. But like I said, the clips are going to find easier to work with. Sometimes pinning it is not quite as effective. Again, do your little quilt tack. If you haven't done quilt tacks before, try them out. They're going to help you out, especially if you find that you need to, you don't like how a corner lines up, you're not taking out the entire row.
And we have a video on our YouTube channel that goes to quilt tacks in
Yep.
depth.
Yeah, how many times if I haven't done a quilt tack, I'll live with it. Whereas if I had a quilt tack, I might just, unpick it and try again. Though I must admit, for myself, I have 3 times.
Hey, same as baseball, right? 3 strikes and you're out.
Yes, 3 strikes and I'm like, yeah, I'll live with it, whatever it is. All right, so we're sewing across. All right, and we have our block done. So now at this point, we're going to give it a press. All right, and this is going to be our row. So our row is going to alternate. So you're going to have a row that has a snowball to start, and then you'll have a row that has the star to start, and then you just alternate them. So at this point, I'm going to line this up. You are going to be doing quite a few tacks, if that's what you deem that you want to do. to make sure you have everything lined up. So again, I'm going to do a quilt tack just to see if I like it. Yep, that looks good. And then we're going to sew straight across. And then we're going to do the snowball block. The only thing I was trying to make sure that I had, they kind of were one directional to me. I wanted to have their all
Going the same direction.
going the same direction. But if you're doing an all over print, it's not going to matter. All right, so we put our clip in. All right, so we put our clips in, and then we're gonna go and again do our quilt tack on those seams that intersect. And then we're going to open it up, take a look-see. That looks good. And then sew. Now, when you're working with it, I may be a 1/16 of an inch off on the point. I'm cool with that. I have a 3-foot rule. If it looks good from 3 feet, don't worry about it. That may or may not be how you roll. So if you don't like it, remember, pull the quilt tack out and then, proceed from there. My sister has a good saying, done is better than perfect.
Mm-hmm. Aim for accuracy. Perfectionism steals joy.
There you go. Boy, we're full of knowledge today.
Yes, we are.
Or at least quippy sayings. All right, so now when I go to put this to my quilt, okay, so I've done my rows. That is a really cute.
It really is, and I
Really
love the way the stars travel diagonally.
Yes.
The snowball blocks connect them up.
Yep. Does a nice job. All right. So, if you had pressed the previous row a certain direction, you're going to do yourself a favor and press the connecting row the opposite. Because again, we're trying to go for quick and easy. So try to press it the opposite direction. All right, so again, can't stress enough laying it down and looking at it to make sure you have it lined up right, because just because we all been there, done that. All right, so at this point, we're going to be connecting, again, the actual block corners, but remember, you have other ones that you are going to be lining up as well. Make sure you have twisted it and put it in the right direction. And we're going to do quite a few quilt tacks along the way here. If you noticed, this particular quilt, all you see is the 4 colors, and it says, 5-yard quilts. The other one is in the border. So I'll show you what I mean when I get this sewn on. It has some really pretty options. I thought that one was also spectacular.
Can you hold up or if you just pass it to me, I'll hold it up in front of the camera.
There's some real fun ones to work with.
Super cute.
They are. They really are cute. So again, we're going to be lining this up. I'm clipping to get them so I can prepare for my quilt tacks. And like I said, it will be easier if you do some quilt tacks. I'm not necessarily a fan of quilt tacks, especially if I was doing just something kind of basic, but these guys, to get it to look nice, I hate to admit it, Loretta's won me over a little bit. Alright, so we're going to go get to the corners. Alright, so we have the last little guy there. I've run out of my clips, so I will put a pin in. Okay, so this, when you're joining the rows together, you're going to have quite a few quilt tacks, but that's okay. As long as you don't ask me to do it by hand. There you go. Alright, so we are working our way across. right, and we're on our last couple. All right, so once you have done your row, you are then again going to open it up and take a look-see to see whether you like it. That looks good. Looks good. You're doing pretty well today.
Knocking it out of the park.
Yeah, not bad. Like I said, my 3-foot rule is looking pretty good. And so we're going to sew, and remember as we're sewing, you're just going to try to sew through the quilt tack so you know that the piece is still lined up proper. And if you hold up your quilt and you notice a little difference in size, because you know life happens, what you want to do is you want to always put the larger piece down towards the feed dogs. So when you're working with it, it'll help feed it through. Continue going all the way through. Almost there. All right. So at this point, I need to give it a press, but it would be all complete.
It's gorgeous.
Now, there are borders that go on this.
Let me swing around the other side.
Isn't that cute?
It is stunning.
All right. So there are borders. The borders. This is where the 5th color comes in. I'm just going to roll this out a little bit so you can see it. So that's the first border. Then they have the second border. And then they have the third. So this is where the 5th color comes in.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that looks gorgeous.
Isn't that gorgeous? And then the corners, the fabric that you use for the corners, that's going to be the binding.
Oh,
so
wow.
I think that's going to be really, really, really pretty. All right, remember when you're adding your borders, you have sewn all the fabrics together. Long sides first, then the tops, and you just do border 1, long sides, top and bottom, border 2, long sides, top and bottom, and guess what? 3, long sides, top and bottom. And have a wonderful time choosing some fabrics, and we will see you next time.